It's the beginning of January 2026.
So I'm cleaning up space on my computer, and as I'm doing this, I'm realizing the amount of unfinished projects that I have. So I have the thought, I don't have enough already going on. Let's just go ahead and add to my already extensive list of, projects going on. So I began to collect and compile a ginormous list of past projects, some finished, mostly not. And I'm like, man, it's a real shame that I've never done anything with these. Some of these are kind of cool. Some are fairly small, and some are, some are a bit more involved. But it would be really cool to showcase these. And so this channel was born. After I announced that I was creating this channel and that I was going to be doing these videos, the showcasing, I was working on this timeline project as sort of an introduction to each of the videos. And I was playing around in my head with different ideas for how I would announce what videos would be showcased. I wanted something unique, something kind of related, and then I had a eureka moment. A claw machine. I love claw machines. I've already got an abundance of arcade-related type projects. Why not add another? And the work began. I jumped right into Blender, began modeling out the base structure of the cabinet for the claw machine, because really that's the most important part. The upper section is just side rails and glass. I designed a really crude claw that was obnoxiously oversized. I dropped all this into Unreal Engine 5 and threw a random purple arcadey color into the cabinet, and then began playing with physics. Initially, when I was playing with the physics simulation fakery, it was coming along okay, namely on the swing side of things, but the rotations of the claw wasn't really what I wanted. It just didn't look right. Not to mention, when toys were in the bin, the claw would just kind of throw them around. My first test run that I'm doing here, you can see where the swing isn't as crazy anymore. I toned it down a lot. And the claw also doesn't actually have any true grabbing physics, so it just kind of shoved into the physics object here, and it got lodged inside. This was like after very many attempts that the bear actually got stuck in the claw, so it was just pure happenstance. When I was initially describing the claw machine idea to my wife, she pitched an idea to me. She said, what if every time that you drop down into the pit, you would get a random number? Like, you could make this as an app. And I was like, you know what? I love that idea. So with that, I began to start the menus. So with the menus, I decided that you should be able to select what type of prizes you would have, whether it was bears or some kind of balls, or the list will get bigger as time goes on. And then the initial RNG was going to be with the list, because that's what I needed for me. I wanted to be able to take the list of all of my projects and put them into this, and then whenever the claw drops into the pit and pulls it out, it would, randomly pick a project. As you can see, the progression of the RNG selection list was over a couple of days. This list thing in Unreal Engine 5 actually turned out to be more complicated than I anticipated. It's not as simple as just add items to a list. It really isn't. There's too much to get into in this. I'll probably drop a short or something explaining, and maybe I'll just drop a full-fledged video explaining how to operate this and why it functions the way it does. So at this point, I had added the claw open and close states in the animation, and as well as you can tell, I kind of toned down the size of the claw because it was insanely large before. At this point, I had finished adding the RNG types. So you would have random number generator, which was part of the initial thing, so you can select a range of what the numbers will generate on. I even have protection cases on it, to where if you flop the numbers, it doesn't break it. If you don't put anything in it, it automatically defaults 1 to 10. I added a coin flip, which is essentially a true-false randomizer, and then the list randomizer. I added a laser position to kind of help align. Maybe in the future there'll be the option to actually rotate the cabinet. The way that this is set up currently is there's a tick box there that says results only on prize 1. With that not ticked, at the point that the claw grabs and goes back up, once it hits the starting point, it's considering that the end of that play, and it's going to give you your result, because sometimes people are going to want their results and not have to guarantee that they got a prize, because claw machines can be tedious. But if you want it to operate and function as a proper claw machine, you tick the box, and it will only give you the prize if you actually won the prize. In the future, I plan to add coin drops, as well as making it to where instead of just having a pop-up box, that the toy actually pops out of the basket below, to be a bit more interactive in 3D. So kind of having 3D style menus. Things will be, if I
as this advances, because I'm going to be working on it as I'm working on projects, the physics will be cleaned up a little bit more to where the claw actually reacts to hitting the objects, so it kind of like rotates like a normal claw would instead of just kind of shoving its way through. After this point, one of my good buddies had pointed out, why don't you make it to where you can enter multiple lines at once, so that way they're not having to sit there and individually add each line to the list. And I'm like, you're absolutely right, especially something like me. I have 63 lines worth of projects that have to be added to this. To add those manually would be a nightmare. So I switched it over to a multi-line list, and that allows you to drop, a whole text box so you can copy and paste in there. Even on mobile, that would be something that you would do, and it'll add on there, and then you can remove or add more or whatever you want to do. So as of right now, that is all I have. As this project updates, maybe I'll drop little small things. I might release this as a Gumroad project. Definitely still kind of have plans to release this as an app where it can be used as an RNG, random number generator type project, just like my wife pitched. I think it could be fun. I think it could be cool. And I thought it'd be a good start to releasing these showcases. If you like this type of stuff, these aren't really going to be tutorial style videos. There will be some that I'll mix in here, but these are showcases, and I will highlight that they're showcases in the thumbnail as well as in the title. Now to decide if the showcase reveal will be at the end of each video or its own short. You guys tell me in the comments what you think I should do. By the way, while recording this, I realized I never put the metal material back on the claw.